Xbox is you're going to have a Scorpio in order to do VR.
Yeah, that will hurt. But being 4 to 5 years after launch date when it drops, I don't think it's going to hurt as bad as it would if it was, say, 2 years after launch or a year after launch or 3 years. It's been long enough now. People are kind of probably ready for something a little different. Um, to be honest, when they come out with PS4 and Xbox One, I was hoping to God they would, because I was fine with 360. I had no problem with the looks of the games. The games ran good. The developers were getting used to the hardware. They were doing shit with it every day that looked really presentable.
Yeah,
Destiny on the 360 is just as comparable to PS4 or Xbox One's versions when they launched.
I
And
disagree.
there was a
I
couple.
disagree.
You had a couple of flags that waved, and you know what? I'm good with that. Why the fuck do
well,
I care if that flag waves? I'm worried about the guys moving around at a proper frame rate so that I can shoot them. And I mean, it was all icing on the cake. It's kind of like what you see with the older video games when they compared a 5200 game to a 2600 Atari game. You know, it looked resemblance was there, but on the 52 you had backgrounds and trees in the background, and then you would have some sloping to the floors, or maybe a ladder would look more like a ladder and less like lines that were horizontal. You know, yeah, it did look a little better, but considering that the machine was 10 years old, it was kind of embarrassing to see it hold up as well as it did against machines that were brand new.
well, you
And
have to admit though, I mean, they saw the ceiling. They were seeing it. There was not much left they could squeeze out of the 360. The natural thing to do at that point is upgrade.
you know
Yep.
what I would have done? I would have changed the GPU, put another GPU in it that was backwards compatible with it. I
Yeah,
would have.
what are you going to do? Make an add-on for it? You just snap a new GPU on there? I mean, it's not
People
realistic.
bought
Like,
elites when they had fucking white ones, and then
well,
they
they
Yeah,
bought
bought
them
what?
because
Then
they
they
bought
bought
them because
white
they wanted the
ones.
hard drive space.
Then they bought the white ones because they had an elite. I mean, they were just buying 360s just to buy 360s there for a while. I had 3 or 4 of them myself.
but there were
I got
still software limitations.
Throw four
yes.
gigabytes of RAM in it, and it's like a brand new machine compared to the
No,
512.
none of that would have helped if they didn't upgrade the version of DirectX that the 360 was running. They
That
just
is a
took
good
that
point.
9C. They couldn't do much more with it. I mean, you're right. They got to the point where they can make some damn pretty, damn fine looking games on it, but it was DirectX 9C. It was eight
Yeah,
years old. It needed to be replaced.
I
So
guess.
Wow,
upgrades
is that
aren't
is that is
necessary.
that what it was? It was 8.
What? No, no, DirectX 9C.
Oh, okay. I don't know
Yeah,
why I thought you said 8.
yeah, because I still got a copy of 9C installed on the hard drive, so I can go in and tinker with the code to refaction from time to time, trying to
uh,
fix that broke ass engine I used.
so, do you think Microsoft will benefit from getting into the VR arena later than everybody
I think
else?
I think Microsoft is probably looking at VR like it's something they need to be mindful of, and they need to include it whether they like it or not. And the air I get from them is yes, it's an addition to what you do with a console, but I don't think they're doing like Sony and making that the center point of the console. I think they're more worried about a game
Oh,
running
I
at.
don't I don't think I don't think Sony's making the VR the center point at all. I think the PS Pro is the main thing that they are pushing. I don't I very rarely see any commercials or anything for
How
uh
much is the Pro going for?
299, 350? 350 I think. 350, 375.
I'll do
Do
a
I
quick
hear
search.
400?
I know that it's dropped in price since release.
um, it seems like some people bought it, and it seems like people use it, but I've not really heard anybody rave about it. That's why I asked.
I don't know
400,
anyone who owns one.
it's 400 with
400.
terabyte hard drive.
And see, that's why I think Phil Spencer was right that it was probably a bad idea to go with an Xbox One and a half. I think when they unveil Scorpio, it's not going to be the same platform as the X1. It'll be able to use the software, and the X1 can use its software at a reduced quality setting. But I think you could look at it like going between an i5 with a certain GeForce video card and an i7 and a better GeForce video card. I think it's going to be that kind of shift for them as opposed to making a half step mid generation.
Well, it'll have to be if they're making these lofty claims about its new capabilities. Which, if they're
Which
going
could
with another
explain.
AMD GPU, that it's very well possible because this new Vega GPU they getting ready to come out is it's making some waves. No one's got a hand on the sample yet, but from what AMD says, it's going to be a powerhouse. So
Well,
maybe
let's
that's
be
what's
honest.
going on.
They told AMD, told us the AMD what I can't remember what chip it was going to be the bomb diggity, and we went and bought. One of my friends went and got his machine as an AMD, and we went to run Doom, and it crapped out. It wasn't until Doom 1.6 he could even run a game on it. So AMD makes some claims that are full of shit. Sometimes you have to be careful.
But
Well,
during that
it's
time, I mean,
They
that was
were
a long
still
time
growing.
ago.
They were
That was
still,
when they were ATI as
yeah.
well. They've been bought by a bigger company. They've merged. I am not a fan of AMD because I think some of the stuff is made very cheaply, and they'll. I don't know. It seems like they give the code out to you know Kmart if Kmart wanted to make video
Hmm.
cards, but I also feel like it could be really, really badass. Like the processor's not going to make me decide if I'm going to buy it or not.
Yeah.
um, well, look at it this way. I know we're deviating from the primary topic, but
Well, in a
um,
way, it
I
kind
don't
of
want to.
fits.
I don't want to give my money, continue to give my money to Intel when they're giving me meager reasons to upgrade my processor. Like my Ivy Bridge processor can still run every game today. How many generations are we past Ivy Bridge now? Well,
Yeah.
we're only getting 10% performance upgrades with each generation
I'm
of
using
the
an
core.
i5 right now, and I could probably go with another
So
4 to 8 gigs of RAM, and I'd be fine.
I'm more than willing to give AMD the benefit of the doubt because they're giving me innovation, especially with the GPU, but also with the processor.
Well,
And
it's
that's
how they're
something that
handling the
it's something
bus.
that Intel hasn't done, and they weren't going to do it until AMD decided to show back up. And
And
that's not how you treat your customers. You should give them an overwhelming reason without them having to be prodded to give you a reason to upgrade or to continue buying your
well,
product.
it's no secret that a lot of the chip manufacturers develop a chip at what it can maximum attain, back up a few notches, and lock it. And then they sell it locked within certain ranges. And yeah, you can use software to jump those hurdles, but most of the time they'll sell that at a wide variety of prices that could range in hundreds of dollars between chip 1 at the bottom and chip 5 at the
Well,
top.
think
But they're
about
the
it. Think about
same.
it.
They're the
They
same die, same electronics, just a software setting in a lot of
they
cases.
I'm sure they have, when you say it's only 10% difference between, each version or each thing, think about it. If they wanted, they could have i9, i11, and i13. It's based on the consumer selling. Why are they? I'm sure they have all the new technology, but
Oh, they do.
they haven't profited off the other stuff yet. They have to
Oh,
go and
they are. They don't have a reason to release the new stuff
Yeah.
because there's no competition.
yeah. I
Why
mean,
Soft.
give up their entire hand when they can just give us a little bit here and there? That
The
I understand
biggest
they're in the business to make money, but there's a better way to treat your customers.
the biggest hurdle they have to jump right now is software developers being able to utilize what they could actually do.
Oh, they can. They just software's there. I mean, there used to be a larger gap between software utilization of hardware and what the hardware could actually do, but it's so damn close now. At least in the game,
Whoa! This just in, boys. Ben Affleck stepped down as director of the Batman movie.
I could care less, or I couldn't care less, I should say.
Well,
Anyway,
I was kind of hoping DC would pull something out of their ass, but it looks like it's just going to be another fiasco for them with Wonder Woman. I'm hearing bad news out of it, but it's hard to tell anymore. You get so many rumors and stuff started by people that aren't fans of DC or fans of Marvel or fans of this movie or that movie, and then the shit gets mixed up so bad you can't find the truth in it. But like you were saying though, Rick, you're right. They're not going to unload their biggest ball bat on the market
No need to.
if they can take it in steps and make more money. And
That's
you're
why I'm
right.
okay. If I can get near performance to their extreme editions for half the price, I'm on board.
But back on the AMD concept or topic, and kind of getting back towards the VR, the one tweet that I seen from Phil Spencer. I don't know why I can't remember that guy's name, but Phil Spencer tweeted that it's not. If I'm not mistaken, it was Phil Spencer that tweeted this, but said it was not a Jaguar chipset or CPU in it in the Scorpio.
Mhm.
So we're clearly not using Jaguar at this point. So it's got to be something above it, because if they go below it, there's no way they're going to get the 6.5 T flops.
It's probably a proprietary version of Ryzen. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I'd say it's probably something they cooked up to get. Having a hardware manufacturer sit down with a software developer that builds operating systems and working out all the finer points of how that shit needs to work to push the extra mile. They could probably take an inexpensive version of the Ryzen, I think's the way you pronounce that, and make a damn good console out of it without breaking the player's bank. A lot of guys are estimating $600 and $700 for Scorpio. I think they're going to be shocked when they see it lands around 400, 450 tops.
I mean, so to me, it sounds like it's just this is going to be their next system.
It is the way
Kind of.
I gather it.
That's just got backwards compatibility right off the bat.
Yeah, without saying it out in the open, and it's a hardware backwards compatibility too. But the new stuff will automatically run on the X1, so there's no need to buy one if you don't want one right now. You can still play the new games, like the next Battlefield that comes out for it that runs on Scorpio, that uses all the bells and whistles when ran on a regular X1, has less bells and whistles, but the game's still there. And I think that's a part of the Play Anywhere scheme, is them creating a platform that is Xbox, not a console that is Xbox.
The Play Anywhere does not appeal to me until Microsoft can get their shit fixed with the
Yeah.
Microsoft Store.
I
Like,
did
it's-
hear. I hear
like,
that Resident Evil 7 on the store was just absolutely terrible.
I don't.
Well,
Performance issues.
I look at it like once I found out, I'm like, oh man, do I want to return my digital copy and then just get it on Xbox so I have it on both? But I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have to fool with the Microsoft Store, so whatever. I've got it on Steam.
And see, I've never had any trouble out of anything I bought that way. Like Gears of War, it downloaded on machine. Come in here and check the desktop, and it's downloading on the desktop. It's ready to go.
I have Forza 6 Apex issues all the time.
I heard
my
about
computer,
Forza
my video
having
card.
some-
I have Quantum Break loading issues whenever I play it, so it's one of those things where
Hmm.
it's aggravating.
I thought it was just isolated. I didn't realize there was a number of titles that don't act quite right in the Windows Store.
You click to run it and it sits. It doesn't do anything, and it's like, cool. Let me go ahead and restart. Oh, okay.
Well, see, Gears of War 4 works just fine through the
Yeah.
store.
I think a lot of it has to do with it being a lately implemented item on a lot of those games. I think for some of those games, especially Forza being as close to done as it was, I think it was something they shoehorned in at the last minute, and it created problems for it because they didn't test it, they didn't sort it, they didn't get it fixed, and you have a DRM that's on a console, or across a console and a desktop that's got to be ironed out, and they don't have time to sort that, and then when you buy it, you are the one that helps them sort it, which is another beef I have with a lot of the game developers right now.
So to kind of gets back on the rails, do any of y'all have any predictions for VR in 2017?
It's all game based. If they can get games big titles that people want to take a shot at, then I think it's going to be great. I think the Star Wars game will be great. I think when people play the Resident Evil, it's going to be great. I think it will be a slow year for them, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be as slow as the previous year. I think they're probably 2018. I think it'll be something that if you're a gamer, it's a must-have because I think they're going to start making exclusives just for VR. That
You think
know,
so?
absolutely.
I,
That's the only way I think they're going to get people hooked.
and the way I'm seeing it is, and just because I was lucky and I called what I thought was going to happen with several of the VR launches. I think what's going to happen is it's going to do okay. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be there in 2025 just as much as it is right now. But I don't think it's going to be this meteoric rise overnight. I think it's going to take time for developers to figure out how to use it and utilize it right, how to build a game that is really enjoyable in it. And it's going to take a lot of components to come together, and that only happens with time. I don't see in the next 3 years that VR will be a must, like one of those things where I got to have it like the next new console. It'll be like I'll grab that when I get income tax or something like that.
No, no. I think the more that it pops up in stores like Best Buy and places where people can actually try them, I think absolutely it's people going to be like, I want this, I need this, I'm buying this.
I had a buddy of mine who kind of had that experience when at a local at SubasaCon, the anime convention here in town. They had someone who had a VR setup, and he pretty much said that's how he felt when he experienced it. Like I was talking, excuse me, talking to him, expressing my disappointment in what happened with VR last year. He's like, "You needed to try it, man. You would have believed if you tried it." So maybe that's what I need to have happen to me. Is I just need to demo it so that I
And
know
see, I
for
think
myself whether or not it's
that's
going to be
something
for
they're
me.
going to have to really push hard on is getting demonstration units out to Best Buys and out to Walmarts and places like that where the everyday Joe can put one on and see what it's like and get an idea of what it's like. Because you can't sit here and stream a VR game and everybody go, well, that looks great. Well, it looks like two screens. It doesn't
Not
make
at all.
it doesn't make sense to a two-dimensional screen. It has to be seen in the helmet under those conditions. And the only way to do that is start getting some free units out to these stores that they can demo. And I don't see that happening very quickly. Maybe within the next year or so, we'll start seeing more and more of them pop up. But they need to pop up in places where the everyday Joe is.
I mean,
Like I said, Walmart, Best Buy.
Best Buy, GameStop, they have
Yeah.
them down here. The Microsoft Store has the Oculus. Target has PlayStation VR, I believe. I mean, they're in Florida. They're popping up. I mean, if you want to try it, it's there to try.
And around here, I haven't seen one set up yet. Of course, I don't get out as often as I used to, so it's been a while since I've been up to the mall.
One thing I will say, it does have media stuff in there that I feel like people could like, but it's not for me. Like, you can watch a movie on the moon, so it looks like you're sitting on the moon, and there's just a big movie theater screen. And I mean, they have cool stuff like that, but I don't think I could sit for 2.5 hours watching a movie with that on me, just because it's
That kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier.
it
There's-
makes you.
There's
I don't know.
There's certain conditions where having that strapped on your face is an okay deal. For 2.5 hours. But if you're just wanting to lay lazy on a couch and watch a movie, catch the next Doctor Who or a Star Trek or something like that, it sure as hell don't make sense to sit there and lay with that damn thing on your head. It's going to be uncomfortable and unwieldy, and as they get smaller, that might not be as much of a pain in the ass, but
I'm not going to watch a movie in VR. I'm just not going to do that.
nah,
I
Yeah,
don't think
it's not something that appeals to me
I
either.
will
But
take my 55-inch TV any day of the week.
And I don't think they're really honestly going to use that as a selling point.
no, they're not. It's a feature that they have in there.
Well, it's kind of like being able to play, well, for Xbox owners, being able to play audio CDs and stuff
Well,
like
what do you
that on your
how do you
Xbox.
feel about they just announced that the Snap is no longer available with Xbox One.
I am
Who used
glad.
it?
I'm glad to see it go. I used it a lot, but I quit using it when Twitch quit supporting their app. The app for Twitch is garbage. It constantly disconnects. It constantly crashes. You report problems to them, and it falls on deaf ears. And I just quit using it. I'll stream the Xbox into the PC through RJ45, and then I'll send it out to Twitch that way because I got better control of it. But there's no reason why that app couldn't work. They just don't want to F with it. And that was about the only app I did that way. The background music player kind of embeds itself into your main bar. So there was no real reason to have an app up for it other than the initial selecting a folder where your music was, and then it just went away. The new dashboard I'm using now is the one where you hit the logo button, the Xbox button. You'll hit it one time, it comes up, you do what you need, it goes away, you're back in the game. There's no more of that bullshit of double tapping, up, down, left, right, and a Ryu forward roll, quarter roll to throw a fireball and get in and out of stuff. It's super fast, super simple, and so much better.
So they did make it so the new update will be better.
It is better. I'm flat out much more impressed with it.
Do you use your Connect at all?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I got to be honest. It made me lazy as fuck looking for a remote. I mean,
Yeah, I don't.
I haven't used my remote.
I don't even think I have my Connect hooked up.
Well, I dropped mine, so I fucked it up. But
Does
before
voice still work?
yeah, the voice still works, but the camera's busted. And basically, I can sit at the couch. The kids lose the remote every damn day. I can just sit there and go Xbox volume up, Xbox volume down, Xbox mute, and it works. I mean, as bad as my southern drawl is in my voice, it works
still
every time. And it was nice when it was new because I didn't have a fucked up camera on it. I would come in from work, plop my happy ass down. It said, "Welcome, so and so," and it would log me in, and I had my controller in my hand. I was ready to go. It knew I was using that thumb pad, and it assigned my profile to that controller, and it was off. I love that part of the Kinect. Do I think it needs to be used for games? I don't know. If you can come up with an interesting way, by all means, help yourself. But I don't think that they need to pour every ounce of energy they have into shoving it. Just let it be what it is, a component of the machine that makes it a little easier to log in and to, like, if we're playing a game, I can tell Cortana to ask her what you're up to on Xbox, and she'll come back and tell me so and so is playing Battlefield 4, and I'll say join James in Battlefield 4, and the game launches and it goes to your game, and if there's an available slot, I'll get right in there with you. And I like that kind of convenience. I think it's neat that they're playing with shit like that.
Well, that's something they could build into the Xbox. They don't need to do it through the Kinect.
I agree. It now that they've got it set up where it works through the headset, it works that way too. But as far as Twitch went, it was kind of handy having that high resolution camera in it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I could see it for streaming purposes, absolutely.
And
I think, and I don't know for sure, but I think Brad had got the adapter for the Kinect to run through Windows 10.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
There's a lot you can do on a PC with it. Cortana will automatically dial into it, and you can use her to log in and out of the desktop. You can use her to start a Skype conversation, surf for an item on the web, look for all kinds of shit while you're doing something completely different.
If you're me, Big Brother can watch you sleep at night by just another camera on you. And
hey, all I gotta say, if Uncle Sam wants to watch me eating Cheetos in my underwear watching Doctor Who, he is welcome to look. It ain't
Well,
nothing to see. It is not that pretty. So by
so
all
what?
means, look away. But yes,
What's
you are right. That is a huge security risk.
like I don't know. I have the LAN wake thing set up on my computer so I can turn my computer on if it's turned off remotely.
Hmm.
Like, come on, if they have that available to the public, but that's another conversation for another time. I don't want to get into that.
There's a there's a lot of conversation to be had in that because honestly, a lot of these little bells and whistles we get on stuff now, from cell phones to tablets to Xboxes and PS4s and on and on and on, you're hearing about security breaches daily on a lot of those platforms, and that would be a good topic for us to discuss at one time. But before we hopped off here, I did want to point out that uh, we've got some new components that we're going to add to the channel to expand the channel, and that's a lot of our hiatus, the reason for it. Like I said earlier when I started the show, I'm going over to Rick's tomorrow, and I'm going to be shooting 2 new shows and getting them started, and then I'll probably have them edited and ready to upload by Wednesday, the first one, and then on
Well,
Friday, the next one.
give yourself some breathing room. They don't have to be so,
Well,
right out the door.
where it's recorded like by script and it's not live, we can do reshoots and things like that. And yeah, that might take some time, but I think the editing process will go a lot quicker. And I've already got the game footage shot for Final Fantasy 15. I'm doing a big full review on it. I've got 144 hours in the game. So nobody can even remotely attempt to accuse me of not really diving into the game. I've beat it 3 times on this one save game. So I've thoroughly been through the game to be able to make some educated statements on it.
Cool.
And that's the way I'm going to do all the reviews I do. I'm going to spend no less than 40 hours.
So I know when it first came out, it wasn't your favorite game. You said it had a lot of stuff. Did you? I mean, putting 144 hours into it, you must have enjoyed it.
Oh, but wait for his review to find out.
Yes.
I don't want
See,
to wait for his review. I want to know right now.
well, let me.
Give him the quick version of it, Gary.
I'll just give you the low and dirty. When I started it, I went into it going, "This is it, Square. If this doesn't work, I will never touch Final Fantasy again. I won't do it because Final Fantasy X was a letdown to me. Final Fantasy XI was garbage to me. 13, I don't know what the fuck that was supposed to be. And I think there's like 2 or 3 parts to it, and it gets more nonsensical with each part they added to it. And then 14 had that real-time combat system that just completely abandoned what the game was all about. And then you have 15 with the same kind of combat system, but there's some different things about it that kind of keep me coming back to it. And it took that much time for me to be able to really dive into it and play it multiple times and beat it multiple times to try to figure out what it was. But there's things in there worth the mileage that I've got in it. But there's also some really catastrophically bad shit in there. And there's also some really good things that Square plans to do to make shit right with it. And I'll get all that in detail with the review on it because there's a lot to go through. There's huge amount of information to cover. The game, when I beat it the first time, was 40 hours was all it took, and I was pissed.
Why? That's a lot of time. Like, I am not going to invest that much time into a game.
Final Fantasy VII, I didn't beat it till the 65th hour. It was like 65 hours and some odd. I didn't beat Final Fantasy VI until after 100 hours. First playthroughs. That's
So
first.
so do you just do every little side mission, do everything, or?
Well, with like the older ones prior to 15, like prior to 10, side missions were kind of quests that were in an area to keep you busy while you leveled up to be able to beat the boss to move to the next section of the main quest. 15 is not quite so linear until you get to the second half of the game. Then it starts going whoosh, and you're on rails for the last hour.
I mean, I picked up Rainbow Six and I can't stop playing, and I have like 90 hours in it since the 1st of December. But
Good
it's
Lord, man.
yeah, man. It's like I'm
Well,
excited.
James,
The
aren't
new
there?
the new loading screen's got the new operator that comes out Saturday. So,
Well,
but it's completely different though. It's a matchmaking thing every single time. As in Final Fantasy is like, hey, let's go over here. Hey, let's go over here. It's I don't know. It just I it's same with Fallout 4. Like in the Fallout games, I just there's so much you can do that it's overwhelming, and I immediately lose interest.
well, Garrett got Fallout 4. I played it for 15 hours total, and I was done with it. I haven't touched it since. I've thought about playing it, and I went, eh.
I picked it up for $20 on PS4, and I got out of, I guess, the first vault, and I'm roaming around where my old house used to be, and I found my old robot, and I'm shooting cockroaches, and now I'm just like, okay, I feel like I can do anything, so I don't know what to do, so I stopped playing.
Yeah, it gets overwhelming where Fallout is so big. And Final Fantasy is larger in a lot of respects, but
I've got about, if I could interject, I got about 252 hours in Fallout 4. I
Good,
still haven't
good,
beat it.
good for you.
it's like with Final Fantasy there's a narrative and a storyline that seems to help the player stay focused on where you need to be and what you need to do in this big ass world. Of course, that's some of the complaint I have is this gorgeous world they have has a lot of components to it that are incomplete or complete and locked away. Because I found a couple of out of bounds areas and
Uh,
wandered around.
You'll talk more about that tomorrow.
Yes, there's a bunch of shit I found in there.
All right.
In the
Well,
out of bounds areas. Bunch
right.
of shit.
We should probably go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, but like I was saying, we're going to have some new shows we're going to add throughout the week, so it's not just a 1 week. We'll have the discussion once a week like we did, probably on Saturdays because that's easiest for everybody to get together. But on Monday, we're going to try to do a little bit of news and things like that, and probably be me
No,
and
well,
Rick.
I don't think so. I think we should talk after the broadcast, but I have different ideas about when we should do the news. At the beginning of the week, there's nothing going on. It's not a
Yeah,
good time to do. So, but we'll talk later more about that.
but as you can tell, we got a lot of things we're cooking up and trying to figure out how to properly deploy them so that they're entertaining for you and they give you something to watch all week long, and we're not just hit once a week and then gone for the next 6 days. But I appreciate everybody watching, and we're going to go ahead and call it a night.